A strong hook. The sound came first, a hollow crack that echoed off metal lockers like a gunshot, then screaming. By the time Rebecca Morrison reached the emergency room, her 16-year-old daughter lay unconscious, skull fractured, and every person in power was already lying about how it happened. They thought her military background made her dangerous. They had no idea how right they were. What began as a mother's desperate search for truth would expose a corruption so deep it reached from small-town classrooms to state government offices, proving that sometimes the most dangerous weapon isn't a gun or a fist. It's a mother who refuses to stop fighting. The pre-dawn darkness held no mystery for Rebecca Morrison. 22 years of military discipline had wired her internal clock to precision. At 47, her body still moved with the efficiency of her combat years, though a decade had passed since her last deployment. She conducted her morning routine with the same systematic approach she'd learned in Fort Campbell: physical training, minimal grooming, strong black coffee. Her daughter Emma should have been awake. Rebecca found her instead hunched over textbooks, already dressed but radiating anxiety. 14 days into their move to Riverside Academy, and something was clearly wrong. "Talk to me," Rebecca said, leaning against the doorframe. Emma looked up, dark eyes troubled. "The kids here are different, Mom. Everything's about who your family is, what you can afford. I don't belong." Rebecca recognized the tactical assessment in her daughter's words. "Every new environment feels hostile initially. What did I teach you about reconnaissance? Observe patterns, identify potential allies and threats. Don't engage until you understand the terrain," Emma recited. "Exactly. You're sharper than most of them will ever be. This is just another operation." In the car, Rebecca studied her daughter's posture, shoulders tight, jaw clenched. Emma had her father's thoughtfulness, his ability to see nuance where Rebecca saw only objectives. Colonel David Morrison had balanced Rebecca's tactical mindset with emotional intelligence. His loss in a Kabul firefight 8 years ago left Rebecca struggling to provide both strength and gentleness. "Mom, the scholarship covering my tuition." "It comes from the Harrison Foundation. Jordan Harrison, his dad runs it. He's in my year." Rebecca's instincts sharpened. "Is this Harrison kid causing problems?" "Not directly, but he runs this school. His family funds everything." "Nobody runs anything forever," Rebecca said quietly. "Remember that." She watched Emma disappear into the brick fortress of Riverside Academy, then drove to her security consulting appointment. Her phone rang 7 hours later, a call that would change everything. "Mrs. Morrison, this is Principal Webster from Riverside Academy. There's been an incident involving Emma. She's been transported to Memorial Hospital with head trauma. The world telescoped to a single point. Rebecca's training engaged automatically." "What happened?" "It appears she fell downstairs." Paramedics felt hospitalization was prudent. Rebecca was already moving toward her car. "I'm 15 minutes away." The emergency room smelled of disinfectant and fear. A nurse directed her to the intensive care unit, words that struck like physical blows. ICU meant critical, serious, life-threatening. Dr. Hassan, a weary-eyed physician in his 50s, met her outside a consultation room. His expression alone told Rebecca this was catastrophic. "Your daughter has sustained severe traumatic brain injury. She's unconscious. The scans show cerebral contusion with dangerous swelling." Rebecca forced herself to breathe. "Prognosis. The next day is critical." "I must be honest, her condition is grave." "The school reported a fall downstairs." The doctor's hesitation lasted only a heartbeat, but Rebecca caught it. "That's the official report we received." "May I see my daughter?" The ICU room was dim, machines creating an artificial rhythm of life. Emma lay motionless, tubes and wires connecting her to technology that breathed for her. Purple bruising marked her temple. Her shoulder sat at an unnatural angle. Rebecca approached slowly, each step weighted with dread. This broken girl couldn't be her Emma. Brilliant, observant Emma, who analyzed everything with quiet intensity. She took Emma's cold hand. "I'm here, sweetheart. Mom's here." Hours later, Rebecca studied the injuries with analytical precision. The bruising pattern was concentrated, not dispersed as would occur from tumbling stairs. The shoulder showed impact at an odd trajectory. When Dr. Hassan returned, Rebecca was ready. "I need to see her chart. That's irregular." "I understand procedures, doctor. I also understand injuries. Those contusions don't match a fall." Dr. Hassan glanced toward the door, then lowered his voice. The initial report stated blunt force trauma. That designation was later corrected. Corrected by whom? Hospital administration received contact from legal representatives of the Harrison Foundation requesting adjustment for accuracy. Rebecca's blood chilled. "Show me the original intake form." The doctor returned with printed documentation. 3 words jumped from the page: blunt force trauma. The next line was damning. Patient stated, "He hit me before losing consciousness." Who altered this? I received administrative directive from the hospital CEO after communication from Caldwell and Associates, the Harrison Foundation's law firm. Rebecca folded the paper carefully and placed it in her pocket. "Thank you for your honesty, doctor." "I showed you nothing," he said quietly. "But Mrs. Morrison, I use digital recording equipment. It captures everything automatically, including administrative phone calls. The equipment stays in my office." Rebecca understood. Evidence existed if she knew where to look. Outside the hospital, evening air cooled her rage into something harder and more dangerous. Someone had hurt her daughter. Someone had covered it up. They believed money and influence would protect them. They were about to discover their mistake. Riverside Academy looked different in morning light, less educational institution, more fortress protecting secrets. Rebecca entered at 7:30, posture radiating controlled aggression. The security guard recognized something in her bearing that commanded respect. Principal Webster was a polished woman approaching 60, expensive suit and practiced smile that didn't reach calculating eyes. "Mrs. Morrison, I'm deeply sorry about Emma's accident. How is she progressing?" "Stop the performance," Rebecca said flatly. "We both know it wasn't an accident." The smile faltered. "The incident report clearly states, my daughter is comatose with blunt force trauma and a dislocated shoulder. Paramedics documented her saying, he hit me before losing consciousness. So let's dispel the fiction. What actually happened?" Webster's expression hardened. "Accidents occur in schools, unfortunately. Students often misremember during trauma. We've investigated thoroughly. I want security footage. The hallway cameras were undergoing maintenance yesterday." "All of them?" Simultaneously. "If you'll excuse me, I have a meeting with Harrison Foundation representatives." Rebecca's voice was steel. "How convenient." As Webster departed, her assistant, a nervous man with darting eyes, lingered. Rebecca cornered him. "Vice Principal Kent, my daughter is fighting for her life. I will discover who hurt her and who's protecting them. When I do, there will be consequences." Kent paled. "I'm very sorry about Emma, but what's the Harrison Foundation's relationship to this school? They're our primary benefactor. Mr. Harrison chairs our education board. His son Jordan is a student here, star athlete." Rebecca catalogued this information. "Where's your school resource officer? Officer Bryant should be near the athletics complex." She found Nathan Bryant, early 40s, solid build, observant eyes, talking with coaching staff. Recognition lit his face when he saw her. "Captain Morrison, from the Benning training program?" Memory clicked. "Sergeant Bryant, it's been years. His smile faded, reading her expression. "What brings you here?" "My daughter, Emma, is a student. She was attacked yesterday. She's in a coma." Bryant's eyes widened. "Morrison. Emma Morrison is your daughter. The official report says she fell." "We both know that's false." Bryant glanced around, then lowered his voice. "I can't talk here. Johnny's Diner on Maple Street, 6 o'clock. We can speak freely." At precisely 6, Rebecca met Bryant at the Vintage Diner. After they ordered, he leaned forward. "Before we proceed, are you recording?" "No, just seeking truth. The cameras weren't down. I have system access. All feeds were operational yesterday." "So, footage exists of Emma's attack?" "Existed. It was deleted around 10 last night from the main system. But there's an off-site backup storing 48 hours of footage. Standard protocol. Principal Webster doesn't know about it." "Can you access this backup?" "Not directly, but I know someone who can. There's also a media instructor, Miss Ortega. Her students document everything. They might have seen something." "Thank you, Nathan. You're risking yourself telling me this." Bryant met her eyes. "Your training course saved my life in Iraq, taught me to stand for something. I've looked away too long in this town. But Rebecca, be careful. The Harrisons don't just have money, they have power, real power." "So do I," Rebecca said quietly. "Mine just looks different." The media lab buzzed with activity when Rebecca arrived during second period. Miss Ortega, a petite woman in her 30s, was instructing 3 students around a monitor. "Miss Ortega? I'm Rebecca Morrison, Emma Morrison's mother. I'd like to speak with you and your students." Recognition and wariness crossed their faces. A girl with thick glasses spoke first. "How's Emma? We heard she's hospitalized." "She's critical." "The school claims she fell downstairs." The students exchanged significant looks. A tall boy straightened. "That's not what happened." Miss Ortega closed the door. "We should discuss this privately." Once secure, a girl with curly hair pulled out her phone. "We have video." Not complete, but enough. The footage was shaky, filmed through a partially open door. It showed Emma backed against orange lockers, surrounded by 4 students. A blond boy in a varsity jacket held a baseball bat. 2 other boys flanked him. A girl held her phone high, apparently streaming. "That's Jordan Harrison with the bat," the first girl explained, "with Ashley Brennan, Tyler Knox, and Ethan Cole. In the video, Jordan raised the bat. Emma tried to move past. The circle closed. Jordan swung. The video ended." "What happened next?" "We heard screaming," the boy said. "By the time we reached the hallway, Emma was on the ground. Jordan and his friends had vanished. Mrs. Patterson, the math teacher, was there, but just stood frozen. There's blood on locker B23, the curly-haired girl added. They tried cleaning it, but the stain remains." "Why didn't you show this to police or administration?" Miss Ortega sighed. "We tried." Principal Webster called the video inconclusive, confiscated the original phone, though we'd backed up the footage. "The Harrison Foundation takes down any social media uploads within hours," the first girl added. "I traced the complaints. They originate from county education board offices." Rebecca was impressed. "You traced IP addresses?" "I'm skilled with computers," she said simply. "We want to help," the boy said firmly. "What Jordan did, it's not the first time. But nobody challenges him because of his father." Rebecca studied these brave teenagers who documented evidence and spoken up when adults stayed silent. "I need everything you can find. Video files, IP data, information about previous incidents, and I need access to that security backup." Miss Ortega nodded slowly. "I can access it, but Mrs. Morrison, what are you planning?" "I'm going to discover exactly what happened to my daughter. Then I'm going to ensure it never happens again." That evening, Rebecca met with Diana Crawford, her former platoon member now practicing law. Over coffee and documents, they strategized. "This isn't just proving what happened," Diana said. "It's exposing the system that enabled it." They created an organizational chart. Harrison Patriarch occupied the apex, influence flowing through institutions like poison through veins: school board, hospital administration, local media, law enforcement. "Classic power structure," Rebecca observed. "Command atop, enforcers below." "Good thing we know how to dismantle command structures," Diana replied. Rebecca's phone buzzed. A text from the tech-savvy student. "Security backup accessible for another 12 hours before cycling. Also, Harrison people approaching student witnesses with NDAs." Rebecca forwarded this to Diana and prosecutor James Caldwell, who Diana knew from law school. The pieces were assembling. Evidence existed. Witnesses were coming forward. The wall of silence was beginning to crack, but the Harrisons would fight back. They always did. The next 48 hours brought rapid developments. Rebecca and Miss Ortega retrieved the security footage showing Jordan's attack in brutal clarity. Officer Bryant documented evidence: a baseball bat buried behind the athletics building, Harrison Foundation logo visible on the handle, blood and orange paint matching the lockers, staining the barrel. Dr. Hassan provided his digital recordings of administrative pressure to alter Emma's medical diagnosis. Student witnesses came forward describing previous incidents involving Jordan's group that had been swept away. Prosecutor Caldwell reviewed everything with grim determination. "This is enough for criminal charges against Jordan Harrison, assault with a deadly weapon minimum." "And the cover-up?" Rebecca pressed. "We need documentation connecting the elder Harrison directly to obstruction." That connection came from an unexpected source. Miss Ortega discovered archived emails on the school server between Principal Webster, Vice Principal Kent, and Harrison Patriarch discussing managing the Emma Morrison situation immediately post-attack. When Caldwell issued an arrest warrant for Jordan Harrison, Rebecca watched from across the street as officers approached the practice field. Jordan's shock when handcuffs closed around his wrists was visible even from a distance. But the Harrisons struck back immediately. Within hours, the hospital attempted transferring Emma to Harrison Medical Center under a fraudulent guardianship order signed by a judge who sat on multiple Harrison Foundation boards. Diana obtained an emergency injunction blocking the transfer. The judge who granted it, Judge Ramirez, was notably not connected to Harrison interests. The battle escalated. Harrison attorneys offered settlement deals. Witnesses faced intimidation. Evidence mysteriously disappeared from police storage. But something else was happening too. Emma was improving. Dr. Hassan reduced sedation. Her brain activity showed promising patterns, and then, miraculously, she opened her eyes. "Mom," Emma whispered, voice raspy from the removed breathing tube. Rebecca couldn't contain her tears. "I'm here, sweetheart. You're safe." Over the following hours, as Emma's consciousness strengthened, she provided devastating testimony. She'd witnessed Jordan and other privileged students accessing test answers through backdoor systems in the school's computers, systems installed by Harrison Industries donations. She'd reported it to Mrs. Patterson, who'd promised to notify administration. The next day, Jordan confronted her in the hallway. Ashley said Emma needed to be taught a lesson and streamed the attack, saying it would show everyone what happens to snitches. "Jordan had the bat," Emma recalled, her voice growing stronger. "He said if I didn't sign a statement claiming I lied about the cheating, he'd make sure I couldn't talk at all. When I refused, Ashley said, 'Silence her for good.' That's when he swung. This wasn't just assault. It was attempted witness intimidation connected to a massive academic fraud operation benefiting wealthy families. The revelation exploded through media and legal channels. The FBI became involved, discovering similar systems in 12 school districts across 3 states where Harrison Foundation had made donations. Jordan's plea deal, testifying against his father in exchange for reduced charges, created a media firestorm. In court, he described how his father orchestrated the cheating system and subsequent cover-up. "My father always said rules were for other people," Jordan testified. "He said our family built this town, so we deserved advantages." When Emma discovered the system, he said she needed to be silenced. The elder Harrison's trial was decisive. Evidence showed he'd personally deleted security footage and transferred funds to officials involved in the cover-up. The verdict: guilty on all counts. Sentence: 12 years federal prison. "The court must send a clear message," Judge Ramirez stated. "Wealth and privilege do not place anyone above accountability." 3 months later, Rebecca stood with Emma outside Riverside Academy. A new sign hung beside the entrance: the Emma Morrison Center for Student Safety and Accountability. The students erupted in applause when Emma entered. The shy girl, who dreaded school, had become a symbol of courage and justice. At an assembly, Emma addressed the packed auditorium. 3 months ago, Jordan Harrison and his friends thought they could silence me with violence. They believed their status placed them above consequences. They were wrong. Rebecca watched her daughter with overflowing pride. "But this story isn't about what Jordan did to me," Emma continued. "It's about what happens when we allow power to operate without accountability. It's about the courage to speak truth when every system is designed to silence you." The changes rippled outward. Governor Richards created a statewide position for educational integrity, which Rebecca accepted. The Morrison Initiative spread to schools across multiple states. Similar cases of privilege and corruption were exposed and dismantled. That evening, Rebecca and Emma sat on their porch watching the sunset. "Do you think it's really changed things permanently?" Emma asked. "Or will someone just build a new system of privilege?" Rebecca considered carefully. "Systems can always be corrupted again. That's why what matters most is teaching people to stand up when they see wrong. You didn't just help create new rules, Emma. You showed everyone what courage looks like. So we keep watching. Keep standing up." "Exactly," Rebecca agreed. "Justice isn't a destination. It's a constant vigil." As darkness fell, mother and daughter remained on the porch, warriors resting after hard-won battle, knowing that what they'd fought for would continue rippling outward, touching lives they'd never meet, creating change they'd never fully see. Justice for one had become safety for all.